We have committed lots of unfortunate atrocities. I feel convinced and I feel very grateful to my comrades and calm accusers adopted a resolution that Nobakhango will be impeached. And I will continue to be the co-convener of the working committee. Recently, there has been a development within our government, an unfortunate development, and shadow has been cast on my characters. However, I would not like to defend myself. I chose this personal day, this Sunday, because I would like to bare myself naked before the Naga people and before God. As a human being, and still a young blood, during my almost 2-decade journey in the Naga struggle, and I being basically from the military setup, from the military formation, we have committed lots of unfortunate atrocities while in the battle, while in the conflict, but that was nothing personal, and it was all circumstantial. It was all because of the issue-related conflict-related. I've been through so many hell. I've faced death many times. Many of my comrades before me, besides me, behind me, they have fallen in the battle. We have taken lives of the adversaries, but for the cause. We feel very sorry and we regret for the loss of lives that has incurred all through the struggle. Either friend or enemy, a soldier is to be honored, and therefore I pay my tribute to all the fallen heroes and soldiers, regardless of friends or enemies. Now, I would like to refocus on the few allegations that has been made against me, especially with regard to my personal characters, my personal conduct. I feel convinced and I feel very grateful to my comrades and calm accusers for exposing certain uncomfortable personal issues in the media. Now I realize that in order to represent my people, in order to represent the Nagas, and in order to be true to the calling Nagaling for Christ, a person who has a darker side of the story kept in concealment, I feel that they should not lead the Nagas. So I took the opportunity today and I would like to make myself clear before the Nagas, before God and before the world, and let them take their own judgment. So in the year 2015, we abrogated the ceasefire with the government of India, and we went back to the war path. I crossed over to the Naga Myanmar area. I was stationed there for at least 3 to 4 years. The environment is such that it happens to be a location where it is close to Golden Triangle. And even in the Naga area still now, opium cultivation is a source of income. Opium itself is a cash, it's a currency, it's a food. Even the church members, because of the lack of economic development in the area, opium is still used as a currency of exchange. During my graduation and post-graduation day, I have already become a social drinker. I also had a brief stint in the media. Even though I do not have a media certificate of media diplomat certificate, I also did my internship at IAMC Delhi under the patronage of the Nagaland University. And then after I joined the Naga struggle, gradually as I've said, when we crossed over to Naga Myanmar area after the abrogation of ceasefire, we were placed in such an environment where the temptation was too strong, and because of the lack of any other amenities or medical facilities, I became addicted to opium. And gradually it progressed to heroin. So I was addicted to opium and heroin for at least 3-4 years while there in Burma. But the crisis erupted in the NSCN government due to the sudden expiry of SS Kaplang. We sent the representative Naga leaders representing our interests to the government of India. The government of India responded positively, and so we entered into the peace process, and thus began our new chapter in the Indian side. Now, preparing to cross over to Indian side, I cannot, with that addicted state, I don't find myself in a position to cross over in such a manner, so I called over my wife. He came with all the first aids, all the medicines, and for at least 2-3 weeks I had a very excruciating ordeal. But finally, I managed to give up heroin, and then we crossed over to Indian side. But since the recovery is a long process, gradually I started drinking again. And at least for a year, I was heavily entangled in drinking. But then there was a lot of dissatisfaction, there was a lot of mistakes I started committing. So I realized that in order to bring changes, I should change myself. And so, thinking so seriously about myself and my role as a representative of the Nagas negotiating with the government of India, I had to re-evaluate myself. I have to set an example myself. I have to set an example for my comrades and others to follow. So I took the firm decision that I shall no longer indulge in these things, and with God's grace and with the support of my wife, my family, and my friends, after undergoing treatment for several times, I finally gave up all the abuses, substance abuses, alcoholic addiction, and then it's been 2 years now that I have been freed from all these kind of antisocial characters. Therefore, today, what I would like to convey my message to our people is that we know that the Israelites, they were the chosen people. And God has His responsibility and His own obligation there. But for we Nagas, we decided ourselves to choose God, and so we declared Nagaland for Christ on our own volition. So we have greater responsibility. And since the evil forces will do everything in their power to smear the banner Nagaland for Christ, and since we are not that strong enough to resist the evil forces, and therefore it is especially the national workers who are supposed to be the example of the teachings of Jesus Christ, we have become the most notorious characters, including myself. And with evil forces actively conniving to destroy the commitment that the Nagas has declared, the division, the killing, fratricidal violence, it started since the unfortunate 1975 Shillong Accord. And now the splits, the divisions, the infightings, it has become the order of the day. Now extortions, killings, intimidation, threat, it has become more or less identified with the national workers. Now the Nagas are eroding, the confidence of the Naga people are already eroding. And it has become a very sad state of affairs. Therefore, even in this particular controversy, I would not blame Baba Khango, because he's a very senior leader. He's a veteran of 1960. He has been to China twice, and he's one of the most foremost and one of the most ablest commander in the Naga army who is still alive today. Therefore, regardless of the misguidance, regardless of the plot that has been orchestrated by others, and he has been misguided, he has been misdirected, I do not lay any blame on him. because all this crisis did not originate from him itself. It has been fed by the others. These things, it will come to light, I believe, in the right time. Those people responsible for it, so I would not comment on that. So, and I do not like to smear his reputation or his image, because he was a very fatherly figure to me, and he has also reached his concluding stages of life. So all his efforts and sacrifices, I cannot allow myself to smear his image or his sacrifices under any circumstances. And therefore, despite my termination order issued without consulting even a single worker of the NSNK, it was only his nephew, Mr. Shellen, and he alone and Baba Khanga alone, with the instigation of others, without consulting even a single other national workers, Baba Khanga issued a termination order unconstitutionally, arbitrarily, and therefore, if I were in his position, or if he were in my position, I may resort to so much mudslinging or character assassination or cheap propagandas, but that I cannot allow myself to go down to that level. And so I extended an olive branch and made an appeal to Baba Khanga that despite all my weaknesses, I being like your son, if you could kindly forgive me, I'm still ready to make apology, ask for forgiveness, and reconcile and go together. So also our Honorable Convener of the Working Committee, NNPG, he also made an appeal to Baba Khanga to revoke his order, and therefore we waited for him for 2-3 days, but there was no positive response. And therefore our government, with all the branches, civil wing, political wing, secretariat wing, almost 99% of the regional authorities, almost 90% of the grassroots level workers, led by the Home Kilonser, led by the Tatar Hoho, Parliament Hoho Speaker, led by the Chief Secretary, led by the ceasefire supervisor, and led by the senior army commanders. They convened an emergency meeting. And since the positive response was not forthcoming from Baba Khanga, they adopted a resolution that Baba Khanga will be impeached, and our incumbent Vice President, Lianbai Yimkhum, will be appointed as the acting president. So it is very unfortunate. It was not my personal decision. It was the decision of the entire setup. Because of certain unfortunate incidents, we cannot get stuck with that and lose sight of the goal that we are pursuing. So we will continue to carry on with the tasks which have been entrusted to us. We will honor the ceasefire agreement which we have arrived at with the government of India. And I will continue to be the co-convener of the Working Committee, NNPG, representing our NSCN GPRN. And the NNPG Working Committee has also had an emergency meeting and took a resolution that even if single person remains with Isaac, we will not desert him. Even if 1,000 return to Baba Khanga, we cannot accept him. Because at this very crucial juncture, when the entire Nagas are longing for an early solution, and when the unity of the Nagas is so imminent, why should he resort to such unconstitutional and unilateral act, which clearly is designed to sabotage the peace process and the Nagas call for early solution? That is the reason why the NNPGs also collectively made a decision that if Baba Khanga refused to comply to our appeal, then the NSNK may take its own course of action, which, if it is done in a proper procedure manner, then the NNPC working committee will also endorse it. And that is the reason why we have arrived at the decision that Bapak Kango should be impeached, so that we can pursue our goal unhindered. And so that is what I would like to interact with you today.